Welcome to Mid-Season, where we talk about a one-season show that was kind of mid. I'm Fadzai.
And I'm Sandile.
And today we'll be continuing with The Secret Circle, episodes 13 and 14. We're past the halfway point, and I'm kind of sad.
Yeah, I'm really like, I realized it watching these ones being like, oh, we're getting into the back half of the show, I guess. That means it's going to be over very soon.
But episode 13 was such a fun episode for me. There's so much that happens. It's so wild. We get to meet a new character. We expand the lore and learn about a new kind of supernatural creature. Charles and Diana are up to their nonsense again, and it ends in a way that might surprise you.
They're bullshit, as always.
And the episode climaxes in a way that just made me go, stand up. Y'all be weak in the knees. Stand up.
All the constants, all the usuals.
But let's get into it. So Adam goes to speak to Cassie at her house. You know she was staying with Diana, but apparently she's come back to get some things. Grandma Jane is still not back. I didn't realize she'd be gone this long.
She's gone a while. Gosh. Yeah, it's a shame. But it's like, how else is all this shit gonna happen, right? Narratively, Grandma Jane is too easy and out because she's a responsible older figure who knows what's going on with the main characters and can actually be useful. So we need her out of the way.
I feel like I've been tricked because I was singing this show's praises by saying, oh, look, there is a responsible adult, guardian parent figure. And Cassie goes to her pretty early in the story and is like, I'm in trouble. I need help. And I was like, yay. And then the story quickly brain damages her and then removes her. So that she's not in the way.
They got you there. They bait and switched you.
Adam is like, hey, Cassie, I'm upset that you're in cahoots with Jake again. And I'm quite unnerved to find out that you dug up your father's grave the other night. Diana told me.
I was like, whose father's grave is this? Okay, let's calm down.
And Cassie's like, listen, I know my father didn't die in the boat fire, and I just want to find out if he's still out there somewhere. And Adam's like, okay, but you know that digging up graves is against the law, right? Like, you broke the law. And also, like, you risk exposing all the witchy stuff. Like, this is not the way to find out more about your dad. Also, neither is getting stuck in Jake's memories, for that matter. What was that about last episode? Because you almost died in that guy's mind. That is the worst way I can imagine going.
I cannot imagine the worst way. Not just his mind, but his 4-year-old memory.
And then Cassie says, is this really about me or about your beef with Jake? And Adam is like, why not both?
We're going to learn those.
We're going to have that why not both quote a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
It's so relevant.
Everyone is holding the nuance in their hands today.
Adam is like, listen, I'm not going to let anything bad happen to you. But Jake is a person who makes bad things happen. And Cassie's like, no, Jake is the reason I saw my father. And he helped me find the medallion, which I'm wearing, by the way. Doesn't it look nice? And Adam's like, you don't even know what that is. We've been trying to take things slow and careful since finding out about our witchy powers. But lately you have been behaving recklessly, my girl. And Jake is an enabler. He is pushing you to make dangerous, careless decisions.
And she was like, digging up the grave was my idea. And I'm like, okay, then both of you can go. Go have fun. I don't care, I guess.
She's like, no, he's trying to help me. And Adam's like, okay, here's the difference between me and Jake. I will do everything in my power to help you find your father if he's still alive. But I'm doing it because I care about you, not because I'm obsessed with your power or your dark magic lineage. Okay? And I had actually forgotten they kissed because he's like, I care about you. The you I kissed the other night. And I was like, you kissed? Have I been that uninvested in this love story? When did they kiss?
I think because Jake walks in, I got fully brain blasted by his return that I forgot they kissed.
When?
That, or maybe there's a scene that got cut. I don't know.
Did they kiss at the dance? It was when he saved her from the fire?
It was after the fire ice dance. The two of them go back to the witch house, I think. They are having what looks like a romantic moment when Jake then walks down the stairs or up the stairs, however he gets in. But I don't remember them kissing.
Well, I'm so sorry to you, Adam and Cassie. I'm sure it was a well-performed scene if it exists. Anyway, Adam is like, there's no room for Jake between us. And I'm like, ugh.
I don't know, man.
Threesomes can be fun, Adam. I don't know. I'm kidding.
Listen. Get some of that.
Faye Chamberlain runs into Jake in the middle of town, and she is pleasantly surprised to see that he's back. She quips that he must have returned to make sure Adam didn't get to second base with Cassie.
Gosh.
And Jake is like, jealousy's not a good look on you. She says, I know that you learned the witch hunters were responsible for your parents' murder, and since I know you so well, I know you're out for revenge. I would advise you don't enlist Cassie's help in that venture. And she says, you're barking up the wrong shrub with Cassie. And I was like, is that a knock at her height?
That's a
How
height
dare
joke.
you, Faye
That's
Jackson?
pretty funny. I'll give her that. That's pretty funny.
Barking up the wrong shrub.
She says this about Cassie being like, she's not the right girlie to have at your side when you're seeking revenge. She's not the type. And then later she'll say something about Cassie that completely contradicts that. So I'm just like... If you're gonna hate, stick to your damn guns.
She's hating for the wrong reasons, because she says she's not the type, she's not your type. And I'm like, that's what you really wanted to say.
Right.
That's what you wanted to land on, that she's not Jake's type. And Jake is like, okay, thanks. Why don't you go deal with your sense of powerlessness and burn down another school? And I'm like, if there's one thing I do like about this Jake and Faye nonsense, it's the barbs that they trade. It's so funny.
But the thing is, everyone is gonna be like, hot, sexy, beautiful, fly. It's like, this is... No, he's dragging her. Rightfully so. That is a very... She's been clocked. It's just...
She likes that because she ends the scene by smiling and being like, now that's the Jake I remember.
Fine, if it's what you want, girl. What am I going to do at this stage of the game?
Cassie tucks her medallion away in her house, that secret hidey hole in her house that's in the... Is it the living room above the fireplace or the mantle or whatever
Which
it's called?
no one has ever seen her hide things in, certainly.
And as she goes to leave, a woman shows up on her doorstep, introducing herself as Lucy Gibbons. And I was like... Now you're just recycling names from Mystic Falls, because we had Lucy Bennett and we had Mrs. Gibbons.
Mm-hmm. We're just mixing and matching here.
But she's like, hey, I know you're Amelia Blake's daughter, and I saw you the night of the boat fire. This is because I was the young woman who was able to perceive you in the flashback. Ooh. And she explains that she's been replaying the events of that tragedy over and over again in her mind, but the other night her memory suddenly changed, and Cassie was in it. She's very nervous and twitchy, and she asks Cassie to let her in, because she's like, I'm taking a huge risk just by coming to you. Cassie's like, oh, are you a witch? Because this is sounding very witchy. And Lucy's like, no, I'm not a witch. I'm a psychic. And I was like, ooh, okay. In this story, at least, witches and psychics are distinct things.
Are very specifically distinct, yeah. And we are in the TVD world, I guess, because they got psychics up in there as well.
She explains that every event, every moment in time has its own psychic imprint. And Cassie being inside the memory altered its psychic imprint in a way that Lucy was able to sense, which is pretty cool. I was like, oh wow, it's not quite time travel. And it's fitting that a psychic is the only person who'd be able to sense that.
Yeah. It's very
Still don't know how the memory version of her was seeing Cassie and being like, what are you doing here? Get out.
That was her psychically reaching out into
thoughts?
the space to warn her. To be like, get out of here. You shouldn't be here.
That was her having a dialogue in her own mind in the shower. She was like, that's what I should have said. You know when you think of a good comeback years later?
Damn it. And here's one thing, me speaking directly to my shower head. And here's what I have to say about that.
Cassie's like, what were you even doing at the boat fire? And Lucy says, oh, I am yet another person who was close with the previous generation's witch circle. I'm like, damn, you guys were popular. My gosh.
Honestly, the secret they were meant to be keeping clearly was not a secret at all. Everybody and their mother was at that boat.
This is why the circles are now 6 instead of 12. They were like, 12 is too big a number. Y'all can't keep your traps shut.
We've literally got to keep our circle small.
But Cassie's like, oh, so you must have known John Blackwell. And Lucy's like, yes, I knew him very well. He was a hero whose death that day was a tragedy. And Cassie's like, oh, girl, he ain't dead. I saw him survive and escape. But I don't know what happened to him afterwards.
This girl will literally tell anyone but her friends the most critical information.
She does.
Cassie Blake.
This is, you know what, actually, I like that it's a consistent character trait. She just has verbal diarrhea. She's one of those people who, like, speaks and then only afterwards they're like, I shouldn't have said that. She's that person who goes home after a social event and is like, I'm remembering all the things I shared and now I want to throw up because why was I being so open?
I got a little too open at the function and now I need to end it all. No, it's like, why can't you do that with Adam and Diana, the people who consistently are able to help you and have your best interest at heart? It's always some shady stranger. I don't get it.
Because that's her boo thing and that's her bestie. And she's like, I can't be so open because I don't want them to like judge me for my flaws. But when it's a stranger, I'm like, yeah, this is me.
Sure. You know what? Sure. It's like Simon in Love, Simon, or more accurately, Simon versus the Homo sapiens agenda, who comes out to Abby before he comes out to, what's Catherine Langford's character?
Yeah, Leah.
Leah? That's not a name.
Leah, L-E-A.
Leah, yes, to Leah. I was like, Leah? It's getting crazy.
Not Bleah.
We were watching a movie yesterday where there were like 3 different people who didn't have a normal name. And I was like, these are not names.
I mean, in this day and age, it's quite common. I'm still waiting for all the Elsas to show up from all the people who were naming their kids after Frozen characters in 2013.
The Elsas and the Annas.
Yeah, they'd be like 13 by now. They're gonna start popping up on social media. They're gonna be like, "Hi, I'm Elsa. This is my twin sister. It's pronounced Anna, not Anna.
It's not Anna, it's Anna." When are we gonna start seeing the Alphabas and Glindas? That's gonna be tough.
Yeah, because it's mainstream now. Because it's been in the cinema. Ooh. Good luck to them.
Good luck,
the Fiero.
Good luck, Fiero Johnson.
Anyway, is Bok spelled with a Q? I think it is.
Yes, Bok ends with a Q. Bok, as they'd say in my language.
Anyway, a car alarm goes offside and startles Lucy because she's like super timid and scared and meek. And I really want to zero in on that character trait because it becomes important later on. She looks so scared and frightened about everything. She's a little church mouse. And then Lucy's like, yeah, I've been hiding from witch hunters for years, but recently they found me and they were after you, Cassie. Someone else must have perceived you in the memory like I did. And Cassie doesn't ask who. She doesn't say what other psychic was there that day.
Right. Like,
who on the witch hunters side would have been a psychic.
Can you perceive that psychic? Questions. Like, how are we... What does this mean? No questions. Never questions with this girl.
She says that the witch hunters would kill her if they knew she was here. And then she turns to leave. And Cassie's like, wait, why would you come all this way and risk your life just to deliver a warning to me? And Lucy says, no, I owe it to your parents because they did a lot to help me. Here, this is my address. I'm staying at this motel in town. Come speak to me later in a different scene. Meanwhile, Dawn Chamberlain is unpacking some groceries when she notices a shallow cut has suddenly appeared on the palm of her hand. Then her best frenemy, Charles Meade, shows up and is like, really? You sent Ethan Conant after me? Really? and Dawn... She's like, do you want to come inside for some coffee? This is their dynamic though. This is quintessential Charles and Dawn.
She's like, Charles, what's happened to us? How did we get like this?
It's so funny. She's so matter-of-fact about it. I was like, what?
Charles, how did we get here? As she schemed 6 different ways.
Like, how did we end up at opposite sides? And Charles is like, did you honestly conspire to get the crystal into the hands of that unstable, pathetic drunk just so that I wouldn't have it?
These two.
And after she asks, which she doesn't answer his question, after she asks what happened to us, Charles is like, gee, I don't know, maybe it was when you threatened to kill my mother. I don't know. Like, that might have been the breaking point for me, Dawn.
If you watch them purely as like the comedic relief sideshow of the series, it's so much better than if you try to view them as the active villains. It's so
just insert a laughing track at certain points in their scenes.
Oh God, I love them.
Dawn is like, listen, we've both done some messy things, but our end goal remains the same, getting our power back. And Charles is like, okay, I'm gonna get the crystal back myself, and the next time you cross me, Dawn, will be the last time. Ethan Conant speaks to Diana at the boathouse, and he tells her he wants to help arrange a surprise party for Adam because it's his birthday. How old is he turning? 16, 17? Poor Diana, she notes that she's still in an awkward position post-breakup where she doesn't quite know how to act about Adam's big day. Whereas the previous year, she was so lovey-dovey that she broke into his locker at school and filled it with chocolate chip cookies. And I was like, oh, don't make me sad.
I appreciate the sentiment of that kind of surprise. What am I doing with a full locker full of chocolate chip cookies? Like, I'm pretty insatiable when it comes to sweet treats, and even I'm like, when would I eat all that? Did chocolate chip cookies go bad? I don't know. I've never held any long enough to find out.
I don't know. People sometimes have like a jar of them in the kitchen, so I assume they lost at least a little bit.
Yeah. Well, fair.
Ethan apologizes to Diana for the way things are right now, but he assures her that Adam still cares about her. And Diana says she thinks a surprise party is a great idea. Then Adam approaches, overhears them, and is like, what you talking about? And Ethan's like, okay, we're abandoning the surprise aspect, but there's going to be a party for you.
Right.
Be here at 8 p.m. to celebrate.
And you know what? I appreciate that.
You appreciate them abandoning the surprise aspect?
Yeah, that's the idea of a surprise party really stresses me out.
I mean, they only abandoned it because he heard them.
I know, but I'm just like, that's the best of all possible outcomes for me, specifically in Adam's position. Now there are 100 people in my place of work that I don't know. Oh, God.
But Cassie teams up with Jake yet again. This time, at least, she is specifically seeking advice about the witch hunters that Lucy warned her about. So, makes sense to go to a former witch hunter.
Why not?
And Jake asks Cassie if she trusts Lucy. And she's like, I don't even know if I trust you, Jake. And I'm like, are we still here?
Stop pretending.
Are you still pretending?
Stop pretending. Like you don't trust him.
This
man was out to kill y'all, and you're still in his corner. Let's not pretend.
This is like when you're like, I don't know if you ever had this experience with friends when you were like preteen age, where someone clearly has a crush on someone else of the opposite gender, but are pretending they find that person annoying. And it's like, you don't find them annoying. You talk about them every chance you get.
The tsundere vibes. Oh my God.
Jake suspects that Cassie is speaking Adam's words rather than her own when it comes to not trusting him. And Cassie says, why not both?
Okay, well, here we are.
And Jake is like, hey, you're here with me, not Adam. And Cassie says, no, I don't want Adam to worry about me, which is why I've left him out of the loop. Anyway, let's figure out how this medallion works so we can use it for ourselves.
He'll do that a number of times in this double barrel, taking digs at Adam, being like, well, why isn't Adam here? And it's like, well, I haven't told Adam that I am here. So it's not a reflection on his character or his choices. Maybe shut the hell up.
I like seeing Jake insecure. It's fun.
Yeah.
And it happens again later in this episode. I was
really
delighted. But he's like, let's go down to the basement of our witch clubhouse because the symbol on the ceiling matches the one of the medallion. So they go downstairs and Cassie's like, okay, now what? And Jake says, there must be a spell to activate the medallion's energy. And Cassie's like, yes, my dad cast that spell in the memory that I was in, but I can't remember what it was. Then suddenly the shack starts to like shake and wind blows about the basement. And Cassie's like, oh my gosh, something feels wrong. Run, Jake, get out. And Jake starts to flee.
Jake leaps.
When Cassie adds that she herself can't move, he does turn back and like tackles her away from the symbol so that whatever's going on stops. Then Adam comes in. Adam comes downstairs and is like, what are you doing?
Because it just looks like you're on top of Cassie randomly in the basement of this house.
So Adam storms off all the way out of a shack and Cassie runs after him and she tries to explain. And she's like, hey, I was just trying to figure out how to use the medallion. Since it saved my father, I think it's our best hope at protecting ourselves. And Adam's like, it saved your father. And yet my mother is still dead. And Diana's. And Melissa's. Oof. And Nick's. So Jake's too. And I was like, wow, okay. But also, now we have confirmation it is Melissa's mom.
It is Melissa's mom.
Thank you, Adam.
This is definite. They can't take it back. They've confirmed twice. Melissa's mom passed away.
Like, okay.
Cool.
He suggests the medallion might just make things worse for all they know. And he reminds Cassie that Grandma Mead warned her that John Blackwell became obsessed with dark magic. And he's like, listen, I think the power of the circle is all the protection we need. And Cassie's like, okay, you've convinced me I was wrong. And Adam believes her and leaves.
Adam believes her because he is kind and trusting and a good friend.
And she heads back inside and Jake is waiting for her, already sulking because Adam got to have some screen time with her.
And he's like, are you gonna head off and braid your ponytails with Adam? It's like, shut up!
He's like, are we done here? Are you and Adam gonna go get ready for the next school dance and pretend everything's fine? And I'm like, yeah, thanks for reminding me that you're pursuing a teenage girl and competing with a teenage boy. Jake, actually, don't you look pathetic?
This is what I said about Damon and Stefan in Vampire Diaries. Competing with a teenager and losing.
Cassie's like, no, actually, we are going to go and talk to Lucy, who gave me her address. Meanwhile, Melissa and Faye are chatting at the boathouse, and Melissa tells Faye that Diana told her Cassie and Jake found dog bones in John Blackwell's grave. So that's what those were. Those were dog bones. Now we know. It was his pet hellhound or something.
It's not the biggest thing, but it's like, I think 14 or 15 minutes into this episode, and it's Melissa's first appearance in the episode. And just on top of everything else, it's just like, okay, well, even when we have her. But anyway.
She's gonna get a storyline.
Oh, yeah,
in a
she
big
is all
way.
right. God damn it.
Faye sourly asks if Diana is Melissa's new bestie. And Melissa's like, is that all you got from the story? Did you miss the part of a story where Cassie dug up her father's grave? And then Faye says, of course Cassie dug up her own dad's grave because she's a creepy little Stefford ghoul with dark magic and daddy issues. And I was like,
now,
wow.
when earlier you were like, Cassie's not the right person to bring with you if you want revenge against the witch hunters, but now she's a Stepford ghoul with dark magic and daddy issues. Pick a lane. You can't just shift your context every time. One thing I don't like is an unprincipled hater. If you're gonna hate, then hate, but stand firm in your principles, goddammit. This wishy-washiness, embarrassing. And frankly, Miss Ma'am got off easy with all the shit she's been pulling recently. But anyway.
Melissa says Cassie's a part of a circle, and there's nothing you can do about that. And then Faye's like, actually, I found yet another side quest involving dubious supernatural remedies for possibly attaining solo magic. And she whips out the devil spirit drugs. And she's like, so this is supposed to help you tap into your inner strength and true power. I think we could both use a little of that. And Melissa's like, oh, your creepy friend Lee give you that stuff? And Faye cheerfully tells her, no, his even creepier biker pal.
Right. So actually it's chill and cool.
They see Diana approaching with supplies for Adam's party, and Faye's like, well, Melissa, you could go be boring and get ordered around by your type A new bestie who's a control freak currently planning an event, or you could get high with me instead. So Melissa takes the devil spirit.
And the thing here, right, is that, like, this completely erodes any of the character development they were trying to do with Melissa just a few episodes prior about being her own person and not taking shit from Faye anymore.
Now that her mourning period is mostly over, she's back to being Faye's sub.
Right.
Oh,
just pointing it
Melissa,
out.
my sweetie, stand up. Just a note on the CW's very on-the-nose soundtrack. The music, whatever song is playing as the scene ends, as she takes the devil's spirit, the last line of the song that we hear is, the devil takes care of his own. And I was like, all right.
All right. Okay, a bit on the nose.
So Cassie and Jake show up to Lucy's motel room. She's still super nervous, but allows them in. And Cassie's like, okay, cool. So I saw John Blackwell use the medallion to save himself. Do you think I could use it to protect my circle? And Lucy's like, yeah, you probably could, but the medallion was lost. And Cassie's like, well, surprise, I actually found it. And I'm telling this to you, a person I met a few hours ago. But we couldn't figure out how to use it, and we almost brought a house down trying to do so. And Lucy's like, well, that's because the medallion needs to be unlocked. If you are a bound circle, you need to perform a ritual to activate the medallion. And Jake is like, and then it can do what it did the day of the boat fire and decimate some witch hunters. And Lucy says, wait, are y'all seeking protection or revenge? And Jake is like, why not both?
I didn't realize how many times that happened this episode, actually.
It really does.
Also, several points on this, because, I mean, the first one, looking back, Miss Ma'am's performances over the course of this episode
Yes.
very impressive. But also, conversely, these two, upon hearing this, had no questions about, well, the bell coin is connected to dark magic, so why would it require the circle to activate it when that's been typically solo stuff? Secondly, if in the scene where they saw John Blackwell use the bell coin to do his shit, the circle was dead all around him, so who was charging it up? It's just a lot of questions that I would be asking upon hearing this information that they seem to feel no need to inquire on. And that honestly is Cassie's biggest flaw, is that she will do any magical thing that is put right in front of her without asking any questions, as long as someone convinces her it will reasonably achieve what they want to achieve.
Maybe she assumed that the unlocking is like a one-time thing that John Blackwell had already done, and now
Sure.
he could just use it all willy-nilly. Otherwise, two dumb blondes telling each other,
Exactly. So true. They are the only ones in the group.
So Cassie's like, Lucy, will you help us? And Lucy's like, yeah, I can get you the spell you need. Let's meet later on at your witch shack. So Cassie and Jake leave. She had a bunch of chairs stacked up against the door before she let them in. They leave. She goes to re-barricade the door, and immediately there's a knock on the door. And she opens it expecting Cassie to be there, but lo and behold, it's Dawn Chamberlain instead. And I'm like, there's no way Cassie and Jake didn't see you as they walked out.
Dawn Chamberlain was Spider-Manning on the awning outside the motel room. And as soon as Cassie and Jake stepped around the corner, dropped and landed on all 4 feet and then knocked on the door.
Superhero landing. Love that for her. She lets herself in because she's rude. And Lucy's like, Dawn, how did you find me? And Dawn is like, well, after you betrayed us and I told you to never come back to town again, I marked you. So again, with her cultural appropriation. But this is her specialty, it seems. The cut that suddenly opened on her hand that day is from the scar of the incision she made to cast the spell to mark Lucy. And there were other scars visible, if you look at the scene in the kitchen, on her hand that were healed. And one of those is probably the one that she used on that guy, the fisherman who attacked the kids at the school dance. Because she marked him too.
She's just got marks all over.
How many times have you cut your hair?
Is she keeping on the radar? That's so funny. I also find it interesting that it works even though she doesn't herself have magic right now.
Interesting. Like an external effect, I guess. Cassie and Jake go back to her house, and she's like, would you wait outside the living room while I go to get my medallion out of my hidey hole? As if Jake couldn't literally peep around the corner and see what she's doing. Like, it's right on the edge of the room.
She doesn't trust him, so she needs to make sure he doesn't see anything.
But I'm like, he could literally see. Like, he's like in the doorway.
It's all pretense.
She doesn't have object permanence. He left her line of sight and she was like, Jake who? Guess he doesn't exist anymore.
If he can't see me, I can't see him.
But she opens the little nook, the little cranny, and finds the medallion's missing. And she immediately calls Jake in without closing the hole back up anyway. So I guess that place has been compromised forever now. Back to Lucy and Dawn. She lies that she's just in town visiting a friend. And Dawn's like, no, I know you've been speaking to Cassie. And Lucy claims that, no, Amelia was my friend. And I heard Cassie was in town and I wanted to. And Dawn is like, what? Pop in and tell her that you killed her father? Oh, and I was like, whoa, that's an allegation. Okay. But the reason that Dawn is making such a wild accusation is that Lucy was apparently John Blackwell's psychic. I guess you can just own psychics in this world. At least they're not black.
The way that alpha wolves have emissaries. I don't know. That's kind of what I thought about.
And at least they're not black.
Yeah, that's one up. Doesn't feel as fraught, I guess. But also, complicated. It's like the voodoo discussion from last week. It's like, well, are we losing black people entirely then? I don't know.
Well, if you ever miss them, just tune into the 8 seasons of TVD and see how well they're faring there. But apparently Lucy was supposed to protect John Blackwell, and she should have seen the hunters coming. And Lucy's like, well, the hunters must have somehow blocked my clairvoyance. I swear I would do anything to make up for what happened that day. And Dawn is like, I bet you can use your clairvoyance to help me find the family crystals I've been searching for. And Lucy's like, oh, nah, I don't want to do that. Those crystals don't belong to you. And then Dawn says, you're a psychic, right? So I assume you know what will happen to you if you don't do what I ask.
And it's like, well, also, I'm a psychic, so I can tell what you're going to do. So I'll just dodge and then kill you. I don't know. What is this threat?
I mean, she might not be that psychic since she claims to be fleeing witch hunters and she's terrified of them. She also looks terrified of Dawn, and I was like, "Gosh, Dawn, you are back. You're really back on the ball this week." She'd been slipping for a few episodes, but she's back.
Yeah, she's on top.
So Cassie tells Jake that her Book of Shadows is still inside the hidey hole, so whoever was digging around in there was only after the medallion. And then she realizes only one person outside her household knows about the secret drawer, and that's Adam. And I was like, maybe he did know she was lying when she said, okay, I'm gonna drop it.
Yeah, because it's like, based on past observations, I don't think you're gonna pass up an opportunity to run off with Jake and do something stupid. So
but that night, Adam's birthday party's in full swing, and Adam thanks Ethan for putting everything together. And his daddy is like, well, actually, the credit should go to Diana. And I was like, okay, are we pulling this thread back after all this time? Why?
I can't tell what the goal was here, but I thought it was all very sweet. They're 3 people who love each other and know each other well, and I thought that was lovely.
Outside, Faye's being snarky again, and she's like, I'm impressed Diana was able to gather up enough random classmates to make it look like Adam actually has friends. And I was like, all right, catty, uncalled for, but at least she adds besides us 5.
But
then
it's
again, it's
like-
weird that she says 5 and not 4 because Jake and Adam
right,
are not
we
friends.
counting Jake? That's what I'm just like. Also, are we counting you? Do you consider yourself Adam's friend? I can't tell.
I guess. I guess.
All right. I guess that's something. You know what? Let me give her a W where I can.
I mean, if you look at the way she treats Melissa, who is
Yeah.
her bestie, I'm like, yeah, I could
could see
believe
that.
that Diana and Adam are your friends. And then Melissa, meanwhile, sympathizes with Diana trying to move on from Adam while still having to be there for him and everyone else. And she says Diana is brave and strong. And then Faye is like, what's this? Compliments for someone who isn't me? Well, I guess you hate me now and Diana is your soulmate.
God, get over
She literally quips that, are you guys Delissa now? And I was like,
so embarrassing. I want so much more for her. My God.
And Melissa's like, stop being a party pooper, have some fun. She waffles on about the joy and beauty of everything, and then Faye realizes, you're high on devil spirit right now, aren't you? And she's like, I don't feel that high. Maybe I should do some more. But the Lord himself intervenes and sends a gust of wind to blow the powder out of Faye's hands. God is trying to save you, Faye. He said, go forth and sin no more, my child.
That should have been a sign. You recognize that you're communing with the universe in that moment, and you take the hint.
But Melissa is like, it's fine. Just call the biker guy and get some more. And I was like, oh no.
I can't stress how much I hate this storyline, and I can't stress how long this storyline goes on for.
Oh dear.
I hate
at
it.
least she has something to do.
God.
Lady Di wishes Adam a happy birthday. She and Adam are very warm to each other. Then Cassie arrives, and I noticed that Diana sees Cassie arrive and then is like, Mr. Conan, weren't you about to make a toast for your son?
Deflect.
She was like, I'm not letting Cassie steal this moment. Ethan is just like, happy birthday, son. I don't say this enough. I love you. It's not the most elaborate toast. So he then asks Diana if she has any words she wants to share. And she gives this very sweet speech about how she's known Adam since they were little. And he's always been a good person and her moral compass because even as little kids, he was always sharing toys with kids who didn't have any and making sure nobody took your toys without asking. And she said she developed a habit of looking to him to see what his reaction was in any situation because then she could tell what would be the good thing to do. And she says knowing Adam has always kept her in the right direction. And
I
was
think
like,
it's such a touching thing to say about somebody, and I think it sets Adam up very well in this episode as the voice of reason for whatever the hell's going on in the A plot. It's a really beautiful moment. Also, Ethan Conant looks really good in this episode. I think it's the suit. I think he's just dressed really nicely.
it's sobriety.
Yeah.
He's
looking healthy.
Well, speaking of which,
Oh, the bastard man, Charles Meade. I want him dead.
Charles Meade shows up and speaks to Ethan some nonsense about, look at our, and you know what? I actually remembered in this scene, I'd forgotten completely, that their children were dating for years.
Yes.
Like these men are sworn enemies, but they've known each other. Their kids are a couple or were a couple.
They've had to sit together at like dinners and stuff where the two families were together.
With Charles looking down on him the whole time, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But Charles says some nonsense about, seeing our kids puts everything in perspective. My own mother, she gave me a talk and I've changed and blah, blah,
Just
blah.
yapping.
And then as soon as Ethan looks away, he slips some drugs into his coffee, into the coffee of a recovering, sober alcoholic. Charles
His
Meade.
list of crimes is already so long. I just don't understand the depths to which this man will go. He and Dawn are so bottom barrel. It's actually crazy.
They're so evil. And it's always so funny when I think about the Mystic Falls parents who at certain points in the story are antagonists, but it's mostly because of ignorance and they're really just fumbling the whole way through. Like the most competent one there is John, and John is Isabel's pawn because she's working for Catherine.
Right.
So,
Right.
But these two, honestly,
Their own thing.
what's the, how you have deuteragonist to protagonist? What's the antagonist version of that? Because they're very interesting as whatever that is.
The deuterantagonist. It is a secondary antagonist. They are secondary antagonists in the story. And it is on a whole other axis of storytelling that I find so hilarious.
Cassie confronts Adam and is like, you stole my father's medallion. And Adam is like, well, yes.
Yeah.
And what about it? He justifies his theft by saying, well, someone has to stop you before you hurt yourself. And Cassie's like, again, Cassie will repeat this over and over, but she's like, we need the medallion to protect ourselves. It's the best way to safeguard ourselves. And this time she's like, Lucy told me about a ritual that we can do to activate its power. And Adam's like, when did you have this discussion? Oh, you went and met her with Jake, didn't you? Okay. Wow. And Cassie's like, well, this is about saving the circle, Adam, and you're making it about jealousy. Jake accepts that dark magic is a part of me. And I was like, I don't like this trope when it comes to love triangles, where it's the bad boy is alluring to me because I have bad traits that he enables or celebrates, and you look at me like I'm, as Elena would say, a
it's
broken
the same
toy.
shit, right? Yeah, it's
something
the same shit as Stefan and Elena in
Yes.
season 4, where it's just like, where is this coming from? Exactly.
Nonsense.
And also the notion that, like, to see someone struggling with something that has been painted as very dark by every reputable source in the nearby 5-kilometer radius and be like, it sucks that you're going through this. I'm worried for you. I want to help you. How is that a bad thing? Right? Like, what does that mean?
You're not taking me as I am, Adam.
Okay.
Unlike Jake.
Okay.
Because she goes on to say Jake doesn't ask her to hide who she really is. And then Adam clocks her and is like, Jake's killed people for being who you are.
Right.
And I was like,
Lest we forget.
mic drop. So now what? So now what, Cassie?
And this is the thing. The thing is, she's so stunned by this. And she's like, Jake's never killed anyone. Untrue. Yes. You watched him kill
with
somebody.
Such certainty.
The day you met.
She says, well, she didn't see him murder Mr. What was his name now?
Calvin Wilson?
Yes.
She saw him murder the witch hunter who he claimed was a witch at the time.
Oh, yeah.
She's seen him kill somebody. It's a flat out lie. I'm just not here for absolute nonsense, is all I'm saying.
Yeah, she goes on to say even more wild things. Basically, she's like, well, you know, Jake only came back to town seeking revenge after Nick's death. Not true.
Not true.
And he might have planned on taking out our circle, but he didn't go through with it, and he's changed.
Not
and I'm
true.
like,
he was going through with it. The only thing that stopped it was your dark magic. I'm so confused. What does she think witch hunting is? When we say Jake is a witch hunter, what does Cassie think that means?
I'm like, so Cassie, if you were a lawyer, you would think that a person, or if you were a lawyer or a judge or a jury or any part of the legal system, you would think that if a person attempts to kill someone but fails, they can't go to prison.
No,
they get
you
off
can't.
scot-free.
It's double jeopardy.
They're a
Your
good
Honor.
person. Or worse still, you think that if you fire a bullet at my head and it misses and grazes my temple,
right,
that you, the shooter, has changed as a person.
Right. He actually never killed anyone, never meant to, when you think about it. Oh, man.
Insane. But Adam is just like, okay, are you sure about that, or is that just what you want to believe?
Ooh.
Meanwhile, Callum the biker shows up at the party with his order of Devil Spirit.
40-year-old drug dealer.
Melissa is delighted to meet her new dealer. Faye is like, okay, I don't know why you came inside. I was going to meet you outside there, where I said leave at door. I didn't say enter. But okay.
Enter my home.
He gives them the drugs, and Faye's like, fine, transaction done, you can leave now. Which is funny because I didn't see her pay for that stuff. So I was like, how is this a transaction? And going forward, we will never see money change hands.
Did America have Venmo at the time? I know they don't have interbank transfers.
Maybe. Wild to pay for the thing before you've gotten it, but I guess that's how like Uber Eats works.
Yeah,
so.
True. But that's, through a regulated legal entity. And
yeah,
some
like
40-year-old
you can send a complaint. You have a receipt. Maybe there's some law against depicting characters exchanging money for mind-altering substances.
Possible.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But Callum leers at Melissa during this exchange. He's like, I might stick around because the party shows potential. And Faye's like, ew, this is a private party. Please leave. Jake shows up to be a knight in shining armor. Faye's like, I got this. I don't need you. Callum says something smarmy. Jake is like, who are you? And Callum is like, I'm a friend of Faye's voodoo boyfriend. And there's like a beat where like Melissa's like, so now Jake knows that Faye is having some sort of a dalliance with someone else. But ultimately, Callum leaves without a fight. Adam returns the medallion to Cassie and he's like, you know what? I had no right to make decisions for you. And Cassie's like, cool, I'll contact Lucy, round up the rest of the circle for the ritual. And Adam's like, okay, how do you know everyone else will go through with it? And Cassie's like, again, this is the best way to protect the circle.
Okay, Cassie.
And Adam tells her, okay, I'm just going to say this. Everything I've said about Jake is true. And deep down, you know this. Meanwhile, the effects of Charles roofying take a hold of Ethan.
Call it what it is.
He goes... He roofies him, so he goes downstairs to lie down. Eventually, later on, when he's passed out, Charles shows up and swipes the crystal from his pocket where he was keeping it. On your list of crimes, roofying,
arson, murder,
waterboarding, moving a corpse, and therefore, what's it called?
A woman dementia.
Assaulting said woman before you gave her dementia because he whacked her over the head to knock her out first.
And so far, what's Dawn got? Asphyxiating murder, cover up, attempted poisoning. I personally think there was poison in the wine. False rape allegation, but that really didn't have any material impact. You think there was poison in the wine? I think there was poison in it. I think she was bluffing the whole way through that episode. And you know what? Good for her.
Jake speaks to Cassie outside, and he sees she's got the medallion back, and she tells him about Adam's misgivings, and Jake's like, I don't care what Adam thinks. I care what you think. And then she's like, cool, on that note, have you ever murdered a witch, Jake? And Jake goes silent, but his face says it all. And she's stunned and walks away.
Girl, what did you think he was doing when he was hanging with witch hunters? Watching? Like a voyeur? Is that better? I don't know what she wanted. This willful delusion has nothing to do with me.
He was an accessory to murder, but did not commit the murder.
Sure. And I guess through that.
So Lucy shows up at Dawn Chamberlain's house, looking all timid and submissive. And Dawn lets her in, and she's like, cool, we can sit in the living room. I've gathered photos of each family, so that'll help you, tap into their energies and find their crystals. And Lucy tells Dawn, actually, we're not going to need them. And Dawn approaches her, and Lucy turns around, whips out a knife, and stabs Dawn in the stomach.
Real quick.
Dawn collapses, and Lucy's meek demeanor evaporates. She's suddenly so confident and sure of herself. And she's like, Dawn, forget the crystals, because the witch hunters are coming back to town, and after tonight, the circle won't have the power to stop them.
Damn.
And before she leaves, she adds, I've always been on the right side, Dawn, and it was never yours.
Ooh.
And she walks out, leaving Miss Ma'am bleeding out on the floor.
Too many magical people being like, and the witch hunters have the righteous path to just be like, why do you think you will be spared when the Lord's day comes? Do you think you're going to be singing in his choirs? No. They'll burn you too.
Whatever the supernatural equivalent of LGBT is, she's like, we are the LGBs without the T's.
We are the P's without the W's. Good luck with that, girl. Good luck booking that heteronormativity you speak of. I don't know why she doesn't double tap Dawn. There's no reason not to. She's fully incapacitated.
Crazy.
None of my business.
Crazy. But anyway, Cassie tells the rest of the circle about their plan. Faye is catty as usual. She's like, oh, we have to do what you say just because you're the queen of dark magic. They each present their sides of the argument. Cassie being like, the medallion is our best shot at protection. Adam being like, the full power of the circle is our best shot at protection. And I was like, well, Adam, point of information, the full power of the circle includes Jake, who you explicitly don't trust. So I do just have to add that's a funny thing for you to say.
Implicitly, he is saying, even with Jake, who's a shady son of a bitch, I would rather the six of us band together than use this shady medallion that we don't know what it does.
That's fair. But ultimately, Diana sides with Cassie, as does Melissa, and Faye is like, ugh, fine. So Adam is outvoted. Yeah. And they leave to go
He
meet
does
Lucy.
say, I'll go along with the circle.
Which is a nice thing to say.
Adam's really solid in this episode.
He's a good guy. But before they leave, Cassie pulls him aside and she's like, you were right about Jake. And Adam is like, yeah, I knew that. But just by the way, I actually do accept who you are. I just don't accept that you are solely defined by dark magic. I think you're so much more than that.
I think that was a great way to put it.
So the circle meet Lucy in the woods. Jake is there as well. And they stand in a ring around a fire. And Faye's like, oh, the last time we did this, we bound the circle. And look how well that turned out. And I was like, Faye, shut up. This episode is not even about
You're
you. Just shut up.
barely in this. God. I think it's Melissa actually who says the last time we were here about the circle, and then Faye says, and look at how well that turned out.
Oh, wow, that's even worse. It wasn't even her line. She piggybacked off Melissa's
it wasn't her
sentence.
line. She was chiming in as she always does.
But Lucy's like, okay, kids, hold hands and chant after me. Air we breathe and fire we feel. And Cassie says, I can feel the medallion getting warmer. And Lucy's like, stay focused, Cassie.
Yep.
And they keep chanting, but Faye starts to look queasy. And Melissa's like, I don't feel so great. And Lucy's like, no, what you're feeling is your magic activating the medallion. You're almost done. And then she says, okay, now say this. By this circle, bind air and fire to metal and ignite its power. And then Cassie's like, wait, I can sense something is wrong. And all the other members of the circle are looking weird. And Melissa's like, hey, this feels just like when Faye did her fire and ice spell at the dance and was draining our life force. And Cassie's like, hey, wait a minute. The medallion is actually taking our magic.
You nearly got me there.
It's that meme of the astronaut looking at the world from the moon, and then the other astronaut's behind them with a gun. She's like, hey, the medallion was taking our power. Lucy, always was.
Always was. And she goes full mask off. She's like, and it's gonna take all the power, and y'all gonna have nothing. It flows in or out. You just gotta pick the way. And it's like, girl, you're speaking to somebody who's now holding all the power. Why is this the moment you choose to expose yourself? You're gonna stop with your little knife?
She literally tells them that apparently it's stolen magic from thousands of witches.
Like,
and that's what makes it so
you
strong.
just told her she has a WMD in her hand, and now you're taunting her in her face.
And Cassie, like a little kid playing a game, who's like, well, actually, no, your laser vision doesn't work on me because I'm wearing my laser-proof suit.
I have my laser shields on, actually. My mermaid tail gives me laser shields, and also it gives me a bomb that can't be blocked by anything.
Because Cassie's like, well, actually, no, this is my daddy's medallion, and I just remembered the spell he used, the that of the boat fire, the one I couldn't remember earlier on, and I'm going to say it now in perfect fake Latin. Ignis dispari ad volum. And I was like, now hold on.
Wait a second.
I know memories can resurface sometimes, but rarely in moments of immense stress. So how did this come back to you in this
That's when all my
moment?
memories leave me, personally. I don't know about them suddenly striking like lightning.
But she sends a line of flame right at Lucy, who is immediately back to being a frightened little timid mouse. And she's like, wait, no, the witch hunters threatened me. They gave me no choice.
I bet.
And Cassie's like, okay, Lucy, you claimed you didn't know if John Blackwell was dead or alive. But as a psychic, you would have been able to sense his energy. And I'm like, now, Cassie, you just learned psychics exist today. How are you now an expert on how clairvoyance works? But whatever.
That's fine.
Cassie's like, is he alive or not? And Lucy's like, he is alive, but I swear I have no idea where he is, and neither does anyone else. And Cassie's like, okay, you're gonna leave Chance Harbor and never come back. And by the way, tell the witch hunters that I have the medallion and I know how to use it. Ooh. So Lucy runs away, and Cassie's like, she's not coming back. And I was like, girl, I'm sure that's what Dawn Chamberlain thought when she
said, and
banished
she
her
was
16
right
years
back
ago.
here. And now this man is stabbed and dying in her house, so I don't know what that...
Speaking of whom, so Dawn is unconscious, dying on her floor, and Charles shows up at her door. I guess he came to gloat about getting the crystal.
Literally,
but
because
he
why
sees her
else was
bleeding out.
he He was like your little plan. And
He
now
was like,
Luke has
nah, 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 nah. Oh, shit, she's dying.
She's like, oh shit, wait, no, it's not that serious. Breaks the door open and goes and resurrects her. These two are so insane.
He seems to do the same spell she did on Sally, where
Yes.
he puts like the crystal against her temple and whispers something in her ear. And then she revives and she's like, oh, you saved me. And I was like, yeah, you too. I don't know what you want.
I love how he quickly tucks the crystal away as she comes up, though, to be like, oh, we still are in this game, though.
But after everyone else is gone, Jake speaks to Cassie and he's like, hey, I could help you find your father. And Cassie's like, I don't think so. And Jake is like, no, don't push me away. You know, we're not so different because the fury you felt towards Lucy tonight, that's exactly what you're going to need to beat the witch hunters.
Okay.
And Cassie says, no, I'm not like you at all, Jake. And then she walks away.
I wish you'd explained why. It seems like a very broad platitude. I need you to be specific about how you think the two of you are different, so I know.
Melissa meets up with Callum, alone this time. And he tells her he was pleasantly surprised when she called. And she's like, well, you remind me of an old boyfriend. And I was like, oh, because Nick also used to make magical drugs.
Taint the memory of Nick Armstrong. by comparing this 40-year-old drug dealer to him, I swear to God.
Callum says something flirtatious, and Melissa is like, no, just to be clear, this is just about the drugs for me. I just want the devil's spirit because it made tonight a lot easier. And Callum's like, yeah, I noticed you went through the last bag a little quickly. Just be careful. Jake, meanwhile, texts Faye, who of course teleports to his place. You know how the message in the chat will either, if you're on WhatsApp, it'll go from 2 gray ticks to 2 blue ticks.
No, I don't, because I have my read receipts off. I'm peddling that nonsense.
Or it'll change from delivered to read.
Yes.
I swear, before the message had changed from delivered to read, Faye was in that house. She was there.
And putting on the most ridiculous act you could possibly. What is this all about?
She's like, what do you want? And he immediately starts kissing her, which is what she's been waiting for since he joined the cast.
Right.
And the two of them sleep together.
What do you want? It's the first message he's ever sent her. Why are we pretending?
The last message in the chat is from 2 years ago before he left town. She never cleared the chat.
And it's not from him, it's from her. It's a wall of text from her and no response. I hate it here. But good for her. I hope she enjoyed herself.
On a more romantic note, Adam opens a cupboard in the bar to find a bunch of chocolate chip cookies stuffed in there by Diana. And he smiles.
That was really sweet.
Lucy Lockett. Lucy goes to meet Eben, and he tells her, you have failed me. And she's like, well, I came to you, remember, of my own volition, and I told you about seeing Cassie and my psychic memory and the medallion being in her possession. And he's like, yeah, but you didn't actually manage to bring it to me. Thus, you have failed me. He also says that if with the medallion in play, she has left the door open to Blackwell's return. And I was like, okay, the medallion was in play before she failed you, so that's not her fault.
Yeah, that really isn't. None of y'all knew it was buried somewhere, so...
Lucy's like, well, I'm sorry. Cassie was too strong for me to stop.
So
and
I've been hearing.
Yeah, so I keep hearing. Guess I'll have to see for myself. Ooh. And then he slits her throat and kills her.
No, she thought she was safe in that moment, and I don't know what gave her that impression at all.
She's psychic.
She was like,
she not sense the danger?
Didn't see that coming, I guess. But yeah, Eben is here in present day and alive with some burn scarring, if I saw properly. So he survived the fire somehow 16 years ago.
At the end of the episode, Cassie goes back to the basement of the witch shack so that she can stand under the symbol and, I don't know, just think about things. Then there's more rumbling and wind, and suddenly she has darker makeup on. Suddenly she's got like this eyeshadow and eyeliner, and I was like, Caroline post vampiric turn? Like, what's that?
Season 2, episode 2, Caroline.
Suddenly her eyes are darker.
She's also, her expression when she does magic now is very cocky, smirky. I'm like, okay, well, fair enough.
And she's like, she opens her eyes and she's like, Daddy. And I was like, oh, here we go.
Odd thing to say. I'm sorry. I'm like, hello. I get you're talking about your father. Maybe I'm poisoned. I don't know.
Episode 14, Valentine. It's Valentine's Day. So I guess school has been in full swing for several months. Yeah, they did that on purpose. So Faye wakes up after her night of passion with Jake, and she gets up and gets dressed to go.
In Nick's old bed. Embarrassing, disgusting, hate it.
He's like, where are you going? And she's like, well, I was going to sneak out before you woke up and I realized what a mistake this was. And Jake is like, is that why you were making such a ruckus? Because it seemed like you were desperately trying to get my attention.
I don't get They've taken two of the characters I don't want to see on screen and put them in the same scene. I skipped through this so quickly.
So funny though. But Faye is like, okay, just a reminder, you called me over last night. And Jake is like, yeah, you obviously knew exactly why I called you. And you ran here wearing your slinky lingerie. And Faye is like, feminism. I wear slinky lingerie because I like feeling slinky. It's not about you.
Put yourself first for him. That's what you gotta do. All my crazy ex-girlfriend heads. You know what I'm talking about.
And then she adds, why are you studying my outfits? Please don't start obsessing over me. This was a one-time mistake.
God.
And then Jake says, the faster you leave, the faster I'll forget it happened. And Faye claims she was trying to get a mental picture of the two of them and her overwhelming feeling of shame in order to prevent this from ever happening again. And Jake is like, take a good last look, standing there in his boxer briefs. And then they start making out and they end up having sex again.
Bored.
Predictable.
I'm bored.
At school, all the Valentine's Day decorations are around. It's very cute. Cassie is telling Diana that, yeah, I was standing under the symbol with the medallion and I felt this rush of power and the sense that my father was calling out to me. Diana is a bit distracted, I guess, because it's Valentine's Day. And Cassie's like, oh, are you bummed out because of the Adam of it all? And Diana asserts that actually no. She wants this V-Day to be about not relying on a guy for happiness.
So true.
And I was like, yes, queen. Elsewhere in the school, Faye comes up to Melissa at her locker, and the two of them commiserate about their lack of enthusiasm for Valentine's Day. Faye calls it Anti-Independence Day, and Melissa's like, it's the loneliest day of the year.
Oh,
and
God.
Faye's like, at least we're not like all the other pathetic delusionals. And then
There's a couple
Melissa
kissing
says,
behind
hey.
them. I'm just like, can we not bother them? Because they're happy, clearly.
And Melissa's like, wait, there's extra sparkle in your bitchiness today. What's up? And Faye's like, well, if you must know, I slept over at Jake's last night. And you can just tell she was dying to tell her. She was like, all right already. Stop twisting my arm. I'll tell you. Jeez. If you insist.
Oh, I don't want to sing. Don't make me sing. Like, okay.
Don't make me sing.
All right, Faye.
And then Melissa's like, girl, no. Can we not go down this road? And Faye's like, but this is not like before. I won. He was feeling hurt and lonely and rejected. And who did he come to? Me. I made everything better. And then I left him home alone to stew in why I am the only one who can make him feel like him. I've got the power back.
And she believes it too. Oh, shame, man. She really thinks.
Not I've got the power back. I was like, oh, is Jake a substitute for your lack of magic? This power you want back so desperately.
Honestly, interesting read.
Melissa's just like, sure, Jan. So what are you two doing for Valentine's Day?
I wish Melissa was a more central character, because when she has her little cut-asides like that, I'm like, yeah, I vibe with you, girl.
Faye's like, no, seriously, I just wanted this one last bit of validation, and I'm well and truly done with Jake. In fact, forget boys altogether. Let's have a slumber party at my place. No boys allowed. We can watch gore-filled horror films where people's hearts actually get ripped out of their bodies as a protest against Valentine's Day. And Melissa's like, okay, sounds fun. As Diana and Cassie walk up to them, she immediately invites them. And Faye's like, ugh, no, not Adam's Betty and Veronica. I don't want them here talking about him all night. She's like, okay, if you guys are gonna come, it's a no boy talk permitted party. And Diana's like, perfect. I wanted this Valentine's Day to be boy-free. The school bell rings and Cassie's like, oh gosh, I forgot my books in my car. Let me just run back and get them. On the way out, she bumps into Adam, who's like, oh, hey, Cassie, you disappeared at the end of last episode, but I saw you speaking to Jake. And Cassie's like, yeah, I was telling him he doesn't know me as well as he thinks he does. Ooh. And Adam is like, best news I've heard all day. And while we're on this good note, I would like to officially ask you out to dinner. And Cassie's like, I'm gonna reluctantly decline, but only because I just made plans with my girls. And it's like a no boys night, anti-Valentine's Day thing. And Adam's like, oh, okay, no, that's...
Adam's like, oh, it's Valentine's
cool.
Day.
Maybe...
That's so random.
It's so random. And he's like, maybe we can do it some other time on a day that has less pressure. And Cassie's like, I'm gonna make it clear, I know you were asking me on a date. I used the word date, and I am keen to do it some other time. And then she walks off, and Adam is like, so random, stupid.
So stupid. It's the most endeared I've ever been to Adam. I found that so funny.
But when Cassie goes to her car, we see a creepy hooded figure lurking behind her who disappears as soon as, like, she moves. It's very Ghostface scream.
It's the specter of her guilt.
Later that day, Lee shows up at Faye's house.
Why is the Voodoo King back? I don't care.
All your least favorite people are at a party together.
Just can't
and you can't leave.
Oh.
Apparently he was away on a family trip, and he's like, yeah, Faye, I left you a bunch of messages, but you never responded. And Faye's like, and you never got me my own power. So now we both know what incredible disappointment feels like.
Okay.
Lee's like, no, I did get you your own power. You and your friends just didn't like how I did it. Anyway, I have brought you something. A weird-looking stick with straw and string and hair. If you look closely enough, a little hint, whose hair is that? We'll find out. And even like a little fake eyeball all knotted into a clump at the end. And he's like, this is called a power totem. It is designed to draw away weakness. And I was like, it's gonna draw away something. I don't think it's gonna be weakness. And he's like, if you put it on your bed for a few weeks, you'll be left with nothing but power. And Faye is like, or it'll kill me in my sleep. And I was like, yes, Faye.
Good instinct. You don't just take a random totem that someone gave you and put it under your pillow. Where are your safety instincts, girl?
And Lee's like, no, this is the real deal. Think of it as my version of a bouquet of roses because it's Valentine's Day and I'd like to ask you to dinner. Faye is literally like, yeah, no, but thanks anyway. She got her jollies last night and this morning. She doesn't need this man anymore.
She's winning. She's riding high.
And Lee's like, oh, I thought the way to your heart was through power. And Faye says, yeah, it is, but all you brought me was a creepy doll. So Lee's like, okay, look, it's gonna change your life. Just, let me know how it goes. And as he leaves, Faye's like, I'm never gonna use it. Pinning that for later. Isaac comes back to town and shows up at Jake's house to speak to him. Jake is shocked at this audacity and attacks him. He attacks him physically, which I've noticed Jake keeps doing to people. And I'm like, did the writers forget that you were doing solo magic when you first showed up?
You could throw him if you wanted. They still haven't explained that, by the way.
It ebbed away as he became closer to the circle. Once he stopped being a self-hating witch, once he betrayed the hunters,
and then
his
lost
solo
his
magic
power.
Went away.
It's like Zuko when he joins the.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good example.
No, I don't want to give him Zuko. I take it back. No, he doesn't deserve it.
No, that's fair. That's fair. No, we love Zuko. So Jake is like, yeah, Isaac, you lied to me for years about my parents' demise when you knew it was Eben and the witch hunters who actually killed him. And Isaac is like, well, what you saw that night was only part of the story. And Jake is like, my parents were prepared to give up on witchcraft and they wanted a truce. And Isaac says, well, actually, so did Eben. Funny enough, he also wanted a truce, but it was Blackwell who would never have let that happen. He tricked all of us and he led your parents to slaughter.
I love the idea of
I don't believe you.
Blackwell tied up on a pyre with a hood over his head and Eben with a knife to his throat having slit everyone's throat in the room. Yeah, Eben was manipulated. Blackwell was the one running the show. It's a hard sell, but I'll hear you out.
It's giving when the fandom doesn't want to accept that their fave is the villain of the story. And
Right.
they're like, no, but guys, actually, if you read between the lines, it's giving, there's a secret 9th episode of Stranger Things where Mike will reveal he's bi.
Let me tell you about a little guy called Loki Laufeyson and the fanon on that character.
Isaac says, if you can get me Cassie's medallion so I can take it back to the Hunters Council, the Hunters won't attack the circle. And Jake is like, okay, I don't believe that either. And I was like, okay, look at you, Jake, growing some brain cells. You got two that you can rub together now. And Isaac tells Jake that the medallion isn't what you think it is. Cassie has put her life in grave danger by activating it because evil will come for her. The only way to save Cassie is to give the medallion to me. And Jake is like, okay, Isaac, you have filled me with a craving for vengeance. You have brought this out in me. I was like, okay, you know what? Guess you'll just see for yourself soon enough, Jake. Bye. So Cassie goes back to the witch shack basement and sees a creepy hooded figure standing there in the dark.
Bless her.
And she screams and runs upstairs where Adam is. But when the two of them go back downstairs to investigate, there's no one there. And Cassie's like, okay, well, the hooded figure was wearing the same robes that John Blackwell was wearing in Jake's memory when the witch hunters tried to kill him. And also the same robes we were dressed in when they tried to kill us on the night of the Halloween dance. And Adam is like, what were you even doing here? And Cassie admits that, well, I was trying to use the medallion to contact my father. Like, I sensed a connection to him through the medallion. And Adam is like, I'm just gonna say this. If John Blackwell is alive, he has had 16 years to contact you, but never has.
True.
Why would you want to look for him? And Cassie says, because he's my father.
Oh.
And I was like, okay.
That's
Fair enough. And Adam's like, okay, but what about John Blackwell's dark magic? And Cassie's like, listen, if he's out there somewhere and whatever this magic is about, I have to find out for myself. So Adam's like, okay, fine. I will reluctantly remind you that Jake is our resident expert on witch hunters. So if you're seeing symbols of witch hunter activity, I guess you should go talk to him about
They'll
it.
find any which
And she's like,
way.
yes.
Any which way.
Because Cassie said she saw a symbol on the hooded figure's robe that looked like a witch hunter symbol. So she's like, okay, cool. I guess I will go talk to Jake. Over at Faye's place, the other girls are getting their slumber party underway. Diana accidentally bumps Faye onto her bed as she's like moving this big suitcase of clothes she bought for her one-night sleepover. And Faye lands on her little totem and snaps it in half. And she's like, Diana! And I was like, I thought you said you weren't going to use it. You seem very annoyed that it's broken.
Right.
And Diana and Melissa are like, what's that? And Faye's like, broken now is what it is. And she leaves to go throw it away.
Well, that's not an answer.
Diana tells Melissa, yeah, I think it was a mistake for me to come over. Faye clearly doesn't want me here. And Melissa's like, well, I want you here, Diana. And deep down, so does Faye. And I was like, okay, if you say so.
Right.
And then she's like, but I do have an idea for how we can, loosen ourselves up, lighten the mood. And she whips out some devil spirit. And Diana's like, yeah, I promised myself I was moving on tonight, but I'm not sure that's what I meant.
Oh my god.
And Melissa's like, no, it's fine. It's herbal. It's totally mellow. Come on, live a little. Like, this is the perfect time to try new things. Diana's like, okay, what the heck? Cool. I'll take some.
The way they put it on is they rub it on the gums. And there is a drug in real life where you do that. I can't remember what it is because I don't know jack and shit about drugs. But it just isn't a good image for me. And I don't like it and I hate it and I don't want to be here.
It does lead to some funny behavior from Diana this episode, which I was like, look at this different side of you we've never seen. Meanwhile, Cassie shows Jake the symbol, and he's like, oh, this is not a witch hunter symbol. It belonged to this coven called the Nidaris Coven.
Coven is interesting in a world where we've established circle for witches. So I'm like, do they do it different in Europe or like what's the vibe?
Maybe a collection of circles is a coven.
That would be interesting.
He's like, there are these old blood witches who come from Europe, not Salem, but their coven was destroyed long ago. Back at the sleepover, Melissa and Diana are buzzed af. They're giggly, they're giddy. They're like, oh, let's order a pizza. I think Melissa says it. And then they speak for a bit, and like 5 minutes into the convo, Diana's like, I have an idea, let's order a pizza.
Yeah. High as hell.
Faye comes in. I think Faye takes a while to realize that they're high, which is hilarious to me because I'm like, I thought Melissa is your best friend and you know Diana never behaves this way. And you've had drugs before. So how are you not picking up on this
She's
behavior?
distracted. She was busy calling her voodoo boyfriend to come fix the thing she wasn't going to use.
Because she comes in and then Melissa's like, what if we cast a spell for when the pizza delivery guy gets here that makes him like give us the pizza for free? And then Faye is like, well, I could do that just by undoing two buttons on my top.
This is crazy.
Then Diana, still flying high, is like, wait, I have a better idea. What if we cast a spell to make the pizza delivery boy hot?
Now,
and I was like,
materially,
are you summoning a hot person? Or are you transmogrifying a person who isn't hot, in your opinion, into someone who is?
Right, because one of those has more glaring implications than the other, metaphysically speaking.
But the other two are like, that's a great idea. Let's do that. And they stand in a circle and they're like, okay, how do we do this? I think it's Faye who's like, we do it with fire.
Yep.
Focus on the heat of the flame and that's going to make this person hot. And I was like, that's not how the English language works.
No, sure. This makes magical and logical sense.
If anything, you're going to cause some poor delivery boy to spontaneously combust on his way over here.
I kept waiting for something to explode.
He's just going to burst
in the
into
room.
flames. But eventually, Lee shows up to fix the totem. He rings the doorbell, and they race downstairs thinking it's the pizza delivery boy. They're like, well, that was fast. They open the door. Diana immediately starts making out with him. He does not push her away.
Nope.
He just accepts the kiss like everyone in TV does, or at least every straight man in TV does. When a woman just kisses you unexpectedly and she's attractive, you just let it happen even though you're genuinely shocked. Like kissing is a reflex, like being tickled, making you giggle. And I'm just like, no, I don't... Faye is like, Diana, no, that's not the pizza delivery guy. That's my guy. And he's like, yeah, I'm here to fix that thing that you weren't going to use, as you put it. So they go off to do that. Over at Cassie's place, the medallion starts to move as if pulled by a magnet. She notices this and is like, curious, but doesn't question it beyond that. She just picks it up and goes. And I was like, Cassie, don't you have
She has
any
no
follow-up questions
ever about the magic. Never.
But she leaves. Back over at Faye's house, Lee notices that Faye's friends are high. And she's like, yeah, it's devil spirit. At this point, I guess she's figured out that they're also on something. And he's like, whoa, that's some dangerous stuff. You know, it took someone from me that I was very close to. And I was like, the thread is pulling closer. We're getting to the end of the thread. Finally, the actual pizza arrives, and I'm just going to be nice and say that boy wasn't my type, but...
I mean, look, I'm choosing to believe it was an illusion cast that they did, and he just looks hot to them, and that's how the magic worked. And that was just some guy.
Fair enough. I guess they make out with him when they take their pizza. Or at least, I think just Diana does. Do they both make out with him, or is it just Diana?
Just Diana, I think. Melissa doesn't get to have racy...
You know what? Let Diana have her fun. This is...
No, never. I'll never take it from her.
Because did she even kiss Melissa's cousin? I'm not sure if that happened.
No, I don't think so.
Or did they just flirt? Yeah, so this is her first kiss post-emo boy. She can have it. Diana, consent is important. This is a person who is at work, and you just kissed him without asking. So that's...
by the barest of definitions. But, you know, he seemed to enjoy it, which is a good response to have when you're accused of assault.
Well, you know, in fiction, a straight man is always willing when it comes to attention from an attractive woman. I'm just like, you know, Diana, it's a slippery slope. Last night, your father roofied someone. So just be careful. That's all I'm saying.
The Mead family stocks are low.
Cassie shows up at the... Oh, yes, I think she had been texted. Yes, they were like, where's Cassie? And then Diana texted her and she was like, hurry. Get over here, bitch. I was like, this is so uncharacteristic of Lady Di.
She puts a little neck wiggle as she's texting. I'm like, all right, Diana, calm down. And some of it is the drugs, but I don't like where we are.
Cassie arrives as the pizza guy is leaving, and she's like, were you just making out with that pizza guy? They're like, well, yes. She and Diana go off inside, and Melissa's like, my buzz is already wearing off. Let me do some more devil spirit.
God.
Meanwhile, Jake goes to tell Isaac about Cassie being haunted, and Isaac is like, the Nadaros coven was killed by John Blackwell. He stole their powers. So now their specters are coming back to reclaim their magic. If you just give me the medallion, all these problems will go away. See, it holds the power of 1,000 dead souls. It will eventually kill Cassie and the rest of the circle if you don't heed my warning. And Jake is like, okay, I'll take that under consideration, I guess. Cassie tells the rest of the girls at the sleepover that she's being haunted. I think Faye might not have been in the room because it's Diana who relays this information to Faye that Cassie's being haunted. And Faye is like, of course she is. How else could she make the night all about her?
I can't stand her ass. I can't. Someone tells you they're being haunted by a ghost and your instinct is to go, well, I guess it's not about me anymore. Like, take the ghost. I don't think she wants it.
She's so petulant. You can tell she grew up a wealthy only child.
Right, because she's not used to the camera lens moving away from her. Mm-hmm. That's the funny thing, is that the call's coming from inside the house here.
When you think about it, she's never even had to share her parent with another parent.
So true.
You'll sometimes see videos of like toddlers online getting jealous if their mother is paying too much attention to their father, or if their father's paying too much attention to their mother. They're like, no, you belong to me, not to each other.
Meanwhile, she has consistently had her mother for at least 14, 15 years.
And she had her grandfather, and her grandfather and her mother don't like each other.
Yep. So independently, she had two sources of love and adoration, and she never had to fight for. Hey.
The girls decide to do a seance with a Ouija board because it wouldn't be a supernatural teen setting if you didn't decide to do a seance with a Ouija board. It happens in AHS Coven. It happens in season 1 of the Vampire Diaries. We gotta do it. They use the medallion as the little thingy that you put on the Ouija board. I don't know what it is because black people don't play with those things.
A planchette.
A planchette.
Yeah.
Kate Planchette.
Kate Planchette.
I don't. I don't know why I said that.
I like it.
I'm kidding. I probably would have played with the Ouija board growing up, but only because
I was gonna say I don't know what the pretense is here. I certainly wouldn't have, but I'm pretty sure you would have.
Only because I genuinely didn't believe in like the supernatural without hard evidence, and because I had a lot of white friends growing up, so they definitely would have been into that.
Had none, and I grew up with some ancestral upbringing, so I know not to mess with shit I don't understand.
They use the board, and Melissa and Diana are super high and giggly the whole time. They let the medallion start to move around on its own, and it spells out the word sacred. And they're like, sacred? What does that mean? And I think it's Diana or Melissa, one of them. They're both high. One of them is like, because Cassie's the most sacred of all the witches. And then they start tee-hee-hee-hee-hee. They're like, and even Faye's like, okay, you guys are acting like idiots. Can we please be serious here? Can we pull ourselves together?
Faye's like, I'm not high enough for this shit.
And then Adam texts Cassie asking if she's okay. I can't remember what their exchange is, but she decides to leave.
She says she's not okay. He's like, do you want to see me later? Do you want to come over? And Cassie's already not feeling the party and is like, clearly the energy over here is not matching where she's at. So she's like, yeah, I think I'll go see Adam. And then Melissa comes in and is like, sorry, I've been laughing so much. I'm just a little bit messed up. And this scene feels like there's a very slight crack in the door to something Melissa's going through that has not been touched on yet. And that's why she seems to be going full onto the drugs. But the only thing I can think of is that it's got something to do with Nick's death, which at this stage is just like, if that's what we're tying it to, then not only have we eroded the character development for Melissa of I am my own person because she's once again Faye's sidekick, but also her trying to process and move on from Nick's death. I guess not, because now she's deep in the drugs, trying to forget that the feeling of like mourning. I don't know. It just sucks. It sucks this character's not allowed to move.
Yeah. She is, unfortunately, number 6 in the circle, which is wild because Jake got there after her.
Thank you.
But
I've said this. It's crazy that he's so much more integrated into the circle, being the latest arrival.
She's like, okay, Cassie, it's fine. You can go. I won't rat you out to the other girlies for breaking our no boys promise. So Cassie heads out. Later on, Jake shows up and he's like, girls, where's Cassie? I need to speak to her urgently. And Melissa's like, well, you just missed her because she's gone off to hang with Adam. Sorry. Meanwhile, Cassie is driving and the necklace starts to move again and begins throttling her. And I'm like, yeah, it's crazy that you were just ignoring the telekinetic effects of this magical object earlier in the
first time. She was like, come on now. And she just pulls it down and I'm like, girl, I think you should be concerned now. And then it starts choking her and she starts swerving like crazy on the road. I'm like, girl, if you don't clutch in and brake at the same time immediately, what are you doing?
Emergency brake. That's what they teach you when you're learning to drive. But I guess she wasn't taught to do that when her airways are being cut off. So she flips the car and is in a really bad accident. It's like, gosh. I mean, the car is
been there.
Bad. She's fine. Oh, no!
I cackled. I was like, familiar.
The PTSD. I'm so sorry.
No, I'm fine.
They should have put a trigger warning at the beginning of the
trigger
episode.
warning, car accident.
Jake goes to look for Adam. He finds him at his spot on the docks, with having set up a romantic dinner for Cassie. And I'm like, the dinner you decided to table until a later date? And then as soon as she said, I'd like to see you, you were like, cool, so we're doing it now. I was like, okay, Adam, a little bit of an eager beaver. Jake sees all this and is like, looks like you're trying a little too hard or something along those lines. He's like, less is more.
Yeah, that's because you're used to doing
Are
nothing.
you going to give Adam relationship advice? Adam, who's been in a steady, committed relationship for several years, you're going to give him advice.
Yeah.
When the longest thing you've ever had was with Faye, who you left emotionally damaged afterwards. And who you only slept with last night because you couldn't get Cassie.
Sorry we don't all rip flowers from girls' own gardens to give to them when we've messed up. And that's our romantic baseline.
Exactly.
Some of us put in effort.
Exactly.
You know?
But anyway, he's like, Cassie's in trouble, so we need to go find her. Cassie, meanwhile, climbs out of the wreckage without a scratch because it's TV. Okay, maybe she's got a few scratches, but considering the car flipped, she's very lucky.
Only 2 stitches.
And again, she sees a cloaked figure lurking nearby, and she's like, hey, wait up, and chases after it. Meanwhile, Adam calls Diana looking for Cassie. Disclaimer, Diana is still high.
I wouldn't care if she was sober. She's right.
He's like, hey, Diana, Jake and I are looking for Cassie. Have you seen her? And she's like, no. I don't know why you'd be calling me looking for her. Maybe she's gone off to look for a third boyfriend. Because she's like,
both you
so
and
cute.
Jake looking for
you
Cassie.
And Jake are looking for Cassie.
Like,
lovely.
Yeah, Diana, you're right.
Maybe she's run up to find a third boyfriend. I was like, the spirit of Faye Chamberlain possessed her in that moment.
Because this shit is getting tired. I'm over it.
Then Faye, who's been lurking in the corner, is like, oh, wow. So how does it feel being replaced, Diana? And Diana claps back and she's like, I don't know, Faye. You tell me. Because you want to take pot shots about being replaced. You're the one who's afraid of being replaced as Melissa's best friend by me. You're terrified that because I treat her well, she's gonna pick me over you. Maybe if you'd been a better friend, she wouldn't be straying.
Get her. Get her. And then it's like, well, how about what you did when you left her 2 years ago to be with a man? And Dana's like, you got me there, girl. I guess you do.
In junior high, I guess. So I was like, okay, so you guys used to be... I mean, it happens. Sometimes, you know, someone
People
gets
grow
into their first
apart.
relationship as a teenager and the best friend starts to fall by the wayside.
Yeah, because we are conditioned to believe our romantic relationships should take priority over everything in our lives anyway, and that's something we need to fight against. Look into relationship anarchy, dear listener, and begin your journey. But anyway.
And then Faye is like, where is Melissa anyway? It's
Meanwhile,
so
homegirl is
cartoony.
convulsing on the floor while they're fighting about nonsense.
Oh gosh. ODing on the bedroom floor. And they're like, oh no, Melissa. Meanwhile, Adam and Jake find Cassie's car wreck. And Jake is like, oh no, the specters, those hooded figures, they're the spirits of the dead witches that John Blackwell killed with that medallion. Adam is like, oh no, did they drag Cassie away? And Jake is like, don't be stupid, Adam. They can't interact with the physical, obviously. And I was like, now how was Adam supposed to
We
know
watched
this?
them pull her necklace. So that's nonsensical. We saw the Ouija board.
I was like, not all of us found our Book of Shadows 3 years ago and then went off to Witch Hunter boot camp, so we don't know how these things work. But he's like, no, they can't. All they can do is draw her closer to their center of power, which is the spot that they were killed. Because, as Elijah Michelson taught us, when a witch is killed violently, it marks the spot of their death with supernatural energy.
Power.
He's like, so these witches were killed in a church nearby. That's where Cassie's gonna head to. And Adam is like, how do you know that? And Jake's like, don't worry about that. Anyway, let's go find her.
Love how remains shady to this day.
Diana and Faye manage to revive Melissa, throws up in the toilet, and Faye's like, I can't believe you did drugs with Melissa, Diana. And Diana's like, I can't believe you introduced drugs to Melissa, Faye.
Bitch, what? I'm the tertiary person. I'm the latest to find out about the drugs.
Faye dodging accountability at every turn.
Oh, God. To her credit, she does sort of go, yeah, that's fair. She's chastened by this.
The scene ends with Melissa stating herself and being like, thanks for taking care of me, guys. Guess things got a little out of hand. Diana stands up and Melissa reaches for Diana's hand, which Faye clocks, and she's like, oh, well, I guess you've made your choice.
It's Jacob and Mike and New Moon at the cinema with their hands out for Bella to hold.
Yeah, except Bella didn't pick anyone. They were both being pathetic.
Bella made the correct choice and said, this is nonsensical.
So, yeah, Cassie ends up at the church. Inside, she finds a gathering of cloaked specters, the dead witch souls or whatever, and she's like, what do you want? And she's ready to confront them, but then Jake and Adam show up to help her, and they make things worse. Because Adam, even though he's in the same room as 3 members of his circle, doesn't try to cast a spell, doesn't ask Jake to do some in-tandem magic. He's like, no, I whip up my trusty pocket knife that I guess I have, and I run at the cloaked figure.
We did see him grab it earlier, but I thought it was an odd choice. I was like, why do you need a knife? He'll have magic. Well, I guess they don't.
Like, you could have at least telekinetically thrown the knife or something. Also, Jake just told you these things are incorporeal.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
A knife against a ghost versus your own magic is a bizarre choice. The choices seem to always be led by production rather than narrative in this, which is really frustrating.
Yeah. They end up collectively possessing him.
Cute.
Now I was like, not another
Legion.
possession. Not another teenage possession.
Yeah, Nick had his shot. Now it's Adam's. Everybody's going to get their opportunity.
And they speak through Adam with the voice of Legion, and they demand the medallion from Cassie. And Jake is like, Cassie, don't do it. Isaac told me that John Blackwell killed these witches and took their power. And she's like, when were you speaking to Isaac?
New
And he's
information
like,
to me, buddy. I know it's hard to keep track of your truths and lies, but didn't know that one.
And he's like,
And then she's like, I have to give it up. They're going to kill Adam. Jake's like, I don't give a shit.
Very, very Damon Salvatore of him.
Yeah.
Matt who? Tyler who? Let's kill Tyler.
Well, apparently it's Stephen who. But they're not related, to be fair.
Jake is like, well, the thing is, it's got the power of 1,000 dead witches inside it. So even if you hand it over to these Nadaros spirits, they will get all the magic, not just the magic that was taken from them. But if you give it to me, I can give it to Isaac, who I trust now, and he'll get rid of it and we'll all be safe. And I was like, oh, guess those 2 brain cells died on the way over here.
Well, Isaac's his papa. That's the thing. Isaac called him son one time in this episode, and he immediately got in line.
The indoctrination runs deep. It's hard to leave a cult.
Oh, it's hard to cut off your toxic dad, you know?
Witch spirits are like, listen, we're possessing this body, we're holding the knife to its throat. What's with these demons and holding blades to these teenagers' throats?
They have an intimate awareness of the carotid and jugulars.
And then Cassie is like, sorry, Jake, I'm not risking the life of the other point in our love triangle. I'm gonna hand over the medallion and save Adam's life. And then she holds out her hand and crushes it in her palm.
I couldn't tell that's what she was doing at first. I thought she was doing some kind of spell. And then I saw the pieces. I'm like, oh, she's got some grip. Okay. Good for her.
It just crumbles away, which I guess banishes the spirits from Adam's body.
Without the power to tether them to this world, sure.
And Adam is saved. Later on, Jake goes back to tell Isaac, well, the medallion's been destroyed. Here are the pieces, I guess. And Isaac is like, hey, I wanted it intact. And Jake is like, shouldn't you be happy that the medallion is out of play? Why did you want it anyway? Because now it's sounding like maybe you had some plans for it, which doesn't make sense because you're not a witch, so you couldn't use it. And Isaac is like, I don't have to explain myself to you. Your anger makes you weak, and there's nothing more I can do for you. Bye, Jake.
All right. Fair enough. Stick to the no contact next time.
Meanwhile, Diana and Faye talk. Diana's like, okay, well, Melissa's okay, so I guess I'm gonna leave since that's what you've been wanting all night. And Faye's like, you know what? Stay. Melissa obviously wants you here. And I guess I kind of do too, whatever. And Diana's like, I can admit that I messed up by abandoning Melissa in junior high when I got with Adam, but I want to be there for her, and I'm never gonna abandon her again. And Faye's like, I know you won't, because if you do... And she runs her finger across her throat.
She doesn't know, meanwhile, across town, someone's throat was about to be slit. The first time in maybe 10 episodes, I felt good about an ending with Faye, because my God. Why did it take so long to get to this? This is the Faye I want, who is like, if you don't act right, ooh, you will hear from me. That's who she should be in this group.
We need to feel sympathy for her because something wicked this way comes.
Yeah.
As we cut over to love interest Lee, who is in a room with his seemingly comatose, formerly devil spirit addict girlfriend.
Yeah, who he has mentioned before. He said it destroyed her, and I guess egg on your face if you presume that meant she died. Here she is.
As we know, there are fates worse than death in this world, in this setting. And he's like, don't worry, my love. The pieces are all in place. I got a fate to keep that little tchotchke under her bed. It will drain her life force and revive you, I guess. And I was like, oh no.
And I bet you somehow Leela Beck gets to come back from this one, because if history shows with the characters on this show who are the dangerous hot boys,
I mean,
you can come back from anything.
There's only one season, so maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I fully can't remember.
I have to assume it's his girlfriend's hair that was threaded into this thing. And I'm like, now Faye, when you looked at this totem, did you not see the human hair that was in there? And did you not wonder?
What does she know about voodoo? Voodoo is exclusively the purview of our Black King, Leela Beck. And she doesn't know about all that.
Our light-skinned biracial.
Our light-skinned biracial Leela Beck. Played by Great David.
Sunspot as drawn by whichever artists make him white posse.
Whoever was in the 90s. Putting the light and lovely on that boy. Oh my God. Fair and lovely, whatever it's called.
As an end to the sleepover, Melissa and Diana and Faye have a pillow fight. It's funny because they're like, let's order a pizza. And I'm like, you guys, are you still high?
Still high. Still high. There's a pizza in the kitchen that is uneaten.
Because
there was too much going on.
They actually got 2 boxes. So I'm like, there's no way that you guys got through all
Not these
that.
3 teenage girls who weigh about like 150 pounds combined. I don't think they put away 3 boxes of pizza.
And Miss No Carbs Faye. I haven't forgotten what she said when she was at Cassie's house.
But they have a cute pillow fight, which I remember seeing the behind the scenes filming of way back when the show was still coming out. And that's nice.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cute. But Cassie and Adam go back to the spot of his Valentine's Day dinner, and she's like, what's this? And he's like, yeah, it was this thing that I put together. And she's like, so random. He's like, oh, yeah, you heard that.
You caught that. That's so cute.
And she's like, yeah, you were right about my father, Adam. Wherever he is, he should just stay in hiding. I don't want to find him. I didn't want to believe he was a terrible person because I didn't want to believe that I was a terrible person. And Adam's like, no, you aren't. You're amazing. And they kiss.
Aww.
And then I was like, this is a nice ending to their little thing, especially because it means she's moving further away from Jake. I always like that. However, in the previous episode, you ended with this love gesture from Diana to Adam that he seemed to receive well. Was that meant to be a platonic
I guess
love
to
gesture?
me, it was like, yeah, we can still have this closeness and this intimacy because that doesn't go away, but like more in the direction of being friends. You are still people who care about each other and can throw each other birthday parties even if you're not together. That was my read of it, at least, but I don't know.
That's fair.
It is the CW.
In the final scene, a mysterious man with the Balcoin symbol burned into his palm shows up on the shoreline.
It was a very Pride and Prejudice shot of a hand, and I was like, interesting choice. Okay. Or Arthur meme, I suppose. There's also that option.
John Blackwell, you want to be Captain Pierce so badly, don't you?
God, I hope we don't build him up too much and then he shows up. I can't remember his performance, but like I'm very excited. But yeah, I liked 13 a lot more than 14, I think, but 14 was still pretty alright.
14 was fun for me. I really appreciated Lucy's performance. I was like, she went to the same acting school as Miss Celine the Siren. She was committed to the bit. She was twitchy. She was like, I'm going to barricade myself in here because the hunters are after me and I can't linger on the doorstep too long. A car alarm went off and I got scared. Oh no.
I've been struggling. She's solid. She's solid. Yeah, 14 is a lot more of the like teen drama stuff that seems a little bit excessive sometimes. It's the drug storyline for Melissa, which I hate to see her in. I don't care about Lila Beck. I don't care about Jake and Faye hooking up. But I do like that last moment with Faye and Diana, so I will give her that.
I'm much more interested in, because it's the CW, and 9 times out of 10, if someone is introduced to the story who's not 40, they're going to be hot. So I was way more interested in seeing Lee, the Voodoo King, be revealed to actually be manipulating Faye and using her for his own nefarious ends.
For his adult girlfriend, presumably. You find out she's also a high schooler.
Then, he's been introduced as her new love interest because we need to pull her away from Jake so that Cassie might end up with him. And I was like, no, I like the idea that, no, don't just trust the strangers who walk into the story because they're good looking. You guys don't know what you're messing with.
That's fair.
He's got his own agenda. And you know who said he was shady the first time she met him? Melissa.
True. And Melissa is always right.
She really is. Melissa and Diana, honestly.
That is why they are the two. That is why they were besties originally. They were on the same wavelength. They cook. They have brilliant aside lines. And they deserve better than they get.
Adam isn't always right, but he's always right where Jake is concerned.
Oh, without a doubt. And he always has the best of intentions. He just sometimes is a little dumb and sometimes a lot of dumb.
But it's much easier to sympathize with all the Cassie and Adam drama now that he is single and we don't have to worry about, temptress plot lines. It does drag, though. It drags in a way in which I'm like, yeah, I think I really appreciate Elena and Stefan getting together so early on in the story because...
Being a thing, being a pair that you root for, that you can watch them build and grow together. It's a romance. Even now, I'm like, I think Adam and Cassie are cute together, but like, what is their relationship? We're 14 episodes in and we don't know that yet because they've not... This is the first date they've had. We don't even see the date,
Whereas Elena and Stefan bonded over stuff before she became aware of the supernatural, before the vampirism of it all. It was like, look at us two moody, broody teens. Oh, look at my... What was it? The book that he gave her? Was it Wuthering Heights?
Wuthering Heights,
or
very
something?
topical.
But yeah, that's all I have to say for those two episodes.
Same here.
La da 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 da, as we say. If you have any questions or thoughts, you can email us at animalattackpod@gmail.com, or you can tweet us at animattackpod on Twitter. That's at ANIM attackpod, and you'll find our link tree in the bio with all of our online stuff. But until next time, that's all from us. Bye.
Cheers.